Hey there neighbors, Kevin here with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the MORryde StepAbove Fold-Down RV Steps here on our 2018 KZ Connect travel trailer. If you're looking for stability with every single step you take when you're going in or out of your trailer, then look no further than the MORryde StepAbove RV Steps. These steps are going to be a fold-down design, so that's going to allow you to easily store these up out of the way so they're not living outside of your trailer any longer. So those times when you have your trailer in storage or it's just an inclement weather and you want to be able to pop those in so that they're not getting all dirty and gross, it's just really simple. Just pick up your steps, pop them up into the door latch, and you're all good to go. Now, every camper is typically going to come with your traditional pull-out style step, but there's a lot of hang-ups when it comes to these pull-out steps, and typically the first one's going to be that over time the hinges here get all rusted out and then they don't really want to cooperate when it's time to come in or push them back into the trailer. So as you can see right now, here's the main reason why our neighbor came to us today, and that's because their steps completely broke off of the bracket. So the mounting bracket that actually ties these to the frame here has completely snapped and is allowing these to just sit at this angle here. So not only are you not really getting any stability, because even if this bracket wasn't broken, every time you step up and down on a pull-out step, it's really wobbly. You get a lot of play in them. They do kind of start to sink down over time too. So you have all that wobbliness, and then you have a bracket that's going to just fall apart on you. You're just asking to fall down and break your ankle. So with our StepAbove steps, there's going to be a few key differences here. The main one here, if you look at the very first step closest to our trailer, that's a much wider and deeper step here. So that way we have a nice stable footing. We can fit our whole foot up onto there. That way if we're trying to deal with our lock, maybe we have little kids, they're all trying to get up into the trailer or come out, they need a nice stable space to step down onto, and that's what this is going to provide for them. If we look even closer at it, you can see that there's this tread that's built into the aluminum here, and that is going to give us a little bit more traction, as well as the tread tape that is all at the front of each one of our steps. So that way, even if it is a slick, rainy or icy day, you can still step on here with confidence and know you're not going to fall off. Now the other side of the coin here is going to be the actual handrail. Now our neighbor did not swap over yet, but most likely once they get their eyes on the MORryde safety rail, they're going to be wanting to swap away from this, because the old traditional style handle, really wobbly, doesn't really extend too far. I mean, we're about a foot from the trailer. It's nice for going up the first step or two, but once you get past that point, you kind of don't really have much to grab onto. And if you're coming out of the trailer, it's not really natural to grab up like this and then try to walk down, especially if you're carrying anything. So swapping over to that safety rail is going to give us a full length of our steps, and that railing is going to come all the way down, so that all the way from the ground up into our trailer, we are going to have something to grab onto for that extra stability. Now there is another handrail that you can get with the steps. It bolts in right here, but that is just another single style handle, kind of like this traditional style here. I'm not a huge fan of that one, but if for whatever reason, maybe you don't have the space to mount up the safety rail at the side of your door because maybe you have a slide out too close to it or some other kind of thing like an awning, then that's a great alternative. So at least you have something a little bit further out, so that way it makes it easier to get in and out of your trailer. So with where we're at today, there really isn't much of a drop off. If anything, our ground kind of slopes up more, so we don't really have to put our feet out too far. But I know a lot of the campsites I go to, it's almost like a huge drop off as soon as you get out of the camper from the pad that they allow you to park on to the actual ground there. So a lot of the time we have to run our legs out quite a bit further, and with MORryde Steps, you're going to get 13 inches of travel. So I'm going to pull this leg out just to show you all 13 of our slots right here, and these are spaced an inch apart. So that's going to give you 13 inches that you can add onto your steps to make sure that you are fully touching the ground and you really have that stability, so you don't get that wobble like you were with the previous steps. Since this is an aluminum construction, it is pretty lightweight, so this is something you could easily lift up even if you aren't the strongest. What I like to do is just go step by step, and on the second step there's usually going to be a handle right there for you to grab onto. and allow you to lock it right into place. Now our latch design, it kind of changes depending on the specific model that you have, but with this one it is the double latch to where it goes across, and then you have this lever that you'll just turn either way so that it'll pull back the plunger and allow you to drop the steps down. Now say you're at the storage lot, or maybe you're at your house and you just don't have a bunch of room between it. Maybe you got another car parked right next to it and you need to get into your camper, but the steps are in the way. MORryde thought of that as well. And they have these pins in the hinge that you can just pull right on out and then pull the steps completely out, which actually I'll just show you. We'll pop these out. We'll want to pull on this. We can grab it by the handle, grab onto one of the other steps, just pull it straight out. We're good to go. We can get up into our camper. Now this is a time where maybe if you did have a decent set of pull-out steps, you could still use them. If not, obviously you would need to get some sort of step ladder or two-step to actually get up inside of your camper. But once it's time to put it back in, all you have to do is just line up your brackets. And then pop the pins right back in. So now, even though these are a lightweight step, these are going to be a 500-pound capacity, so you're going to be able to haul a whole lot of stuff in here and not have to worry, especially if you're a heavier person. I know pull-out steps tend to be a little bit scary, so having that nice, stable, leg-supported step is going to make getting in and out of your camper a whole lot easier. Now, with all that being said, why don't we take some measurements and figure out what size steps we're actually going to need. First one being our flange-to-flange measurement, so that's this smallest portion that we have here. So the flange sticks out, our door closes up against that. So this is going to be what the steps are actually going to be able to slip through. So for our specific setup, we're right at 25 inches for our flange to flange measurement. From there, what we're going to want to do is also get our entry height. So you can see our steps right now are touching the ground, but part of the reasoning for that is because the brackets have broken off at the front. So the whole assembly is just kind of slanted down and sitting super low compared to where it should typically sit here. But we're going to want to have our trailer level, and then what we'll do is measure up from the ground to the top of our threshold, which is right at 31 inches. Now MORryde's got a variety of steps when it comes to these different measurements. So we have a whole chart on each one of our pages for these MORryde steps that's going to list out your entry height and then also your width, so that way you can figure out exactly which step is going to be the correct fit for your trailer. Now, installation of these steps is super simple. This is something that should maybe only take you about 5 minutes to do. The only thing is, if you just can't hold the steps up at the same time, you might just want to have a second person with you, just for that added stability while you're kind of getting everything adjusted or screwed down properly. That's really the only thing here that's going to be a challenge, unless you are one of those people that's running into height issues with your door, and then it might get a little bit more complicated. And if you don't feel comfortable actually chopping down the screen door to make sure that it actually fits with our threshold and our hinge, then please feel free to use our dealer locator, and you can enter in your zip code to find a shop near you and get it professionally installed. Now, if you are wanting to do this yourself and just need a little bit of help to get you there, please stick around and I'll walk you through the process. Now, in the instructions, they're going to tell you to remove this transition strip that goes between our threshold and our flooring here. A lot of the time I find that we don't actually need to remove it. There's plenty of space for it to fit. So what I like to do is just do a little test fit before I even do anything and just kind of see if I have to remove that or if we can leave it on there. So I'm going to take my steps, set them up into place. We'll get them to the right height for where we're at. So I'm going to pull out my legs. We'll make sure that we are completely butted up against our door threshold here. And then let's see if we can close our entry door. So I could feel when I pushed it in, it is kind of catching on the strip down here at the bottom, so the weather stripping. I may drop this just a bit because I am sticking up slightly on this side, but we may, in this case, actually have to remove that transition strip. Let's try going up one. That's a little bit better. Now the other part of this is it's sticking out so far that our mounting bracket's not going to fit right. And it looks like with it completely butted up against there, it is going to be fine. So realistically, this is up to you whether or not you want to remove that strip. If we do remove that transition strip, this will sink down just slightly more, because then it's just going to be only rubbing up against our threshold. So I think in this one, while I don't absolutely have to, I think I might, just so that this is kind of tucked in a little bit more. Then we have less resistance rubbing against the bottom of our door. Now, if you're having a lot of issues where this is the only size that is going to fit for you, you can still trim down your door. A lot of the time, it's the screen door that usually gets caught up. And what you can do is disassemble it. These pieces will just pop out. They're just kind of pressed into this corner piece here and here. You could then pop the bottom out, shorten it just a bit, and also with the plate that they just stick in here to fill up the gap. And then you could pop on your bottom piece again and be all good to go. So our transition strip is only held in with 3 screws that all have a Phillips head. You might find yours is different. A lot of the time they like to use a square bit head. And then now's a good time, if you have a vacuum, just kind of clean up any dirt or debris that slipped under the transition strip. Now we can set our steps back up in here, but this time I'm gonna try to have this hold it for us a bit. So what we're looking at here is our mounting bracket. We want those laying down flat. And we want those somewhat flush here, but at the same time, I might mark this differently because, like I said, I want to have this hinge sit right up against our threshold. So it is going to need to sit out a little bit because it was sitting right on the edge of our transition strip. You can kind of see the dirt mark from where the transition strip used to sit, where it's a little bit less faded on the floor. Get that pretty close. Right out there. Let's see how that looks. Or maybe. Yeah, I like that a lot more. Let's close the door one more time. Yeah, 0 resistance down in that bottom corner now. So that's going to be the better option. Now, if you did take that transition strip out, I would probably take some sealant or something and just run a bead all the way down. So that way, you know, they have that transition strip on there because they didn't really finish the floor to the threshold. So you can get water, you can get debris, a bunch of stuff kind of in that crack there. So just throw a little bead of sealant and you should be good. But I do think that right where I got it's going to be good. So I'm going to grab my wrench. I'm going to adjust the handles out just a bit more, which is usually something I do last, but I want to use them to actually hold this up to the door flange, so while we're mounting it up, it's not going to be trying to fall over on us. Now on our handle here, we're going to have 2 bolts. I'm going to just slightly loosen those. And these have a slot in them. This is why they have that range when it comes to the width, because you can move these in or move them slightly out and adjust that and get a little bit wider of a width or a little bit thinner of a width, so that way you can fit a variety of different doors. We'll get these kind of set up. Usually on the door side of it, when you're facing against the hinge, you kind of can't go in too far, so I usually like to go just to the edge of that weather strip and then tighten it back down. And then the adjustment on the other side, you can go pretty much all the way up against the threshold here without it catching. It's just the hinge side, you'll always catch on the door anytime you try to bring the steps down. So once that's nice and snug, we can come back. And honestly, we can adjust this a little bit later now that we have a little bit more security here holding it in. And we can get our brackets where we need them to sit. So on your steps, right when you pull them out of the box, you'll find a bag of hardware taped to one of the steps on the back side usually. It's going to house these screws in it. These are what we're going to use to mount up our steps. There's going to be 4 holes in each bracket. And I'm going to start by getting this one. Get one in there. We'll get one in here. Prevent this from slipping. and then we'll just fill in. Now I would shoot your screws into the center of the slotted holes, so that way if you ever do need to make any kind of adjustment with it, you still can. All right, now that we have that, we'll pull our steps back down, make sure everything's sitting right. Pull our door closed. All good there. So now we can fine tune those adjustments on our latches. All right, let's make sure it still works. So this side we need to go out just a bit more. It's not fully coming in. The plunger right here, you can see it on the inside of the trailer, is what we're wanting to get to sit up against the inside of our flange. Right now ours is a little short. I think maybe I'll probably have to loosen up a bit here and slide this over more, just because we need the plunger to come with us, and the plunger's tied into this bracket. So I am going to have to grab some other tools here. Normally I don't really run into this too often. I think this is just kind of on the edge of our range here, so that's why I'm having this difficulty. But I'm going to pop these two screws loose. We'll move these just down a little bit so we can get that plunger to make more contact with our door flange. Now that we have this fully adjusted, it's going to catch. So that way we're getting the plunger to touch on the inside here. We've got the outside of our latch catching over here, so it's not going to go too far in. It's not going to go out. So it's going to do it. Everything here is all pretty well tuned in at this point. That's going to do it for our look at and installation of the MORryde StepAbove Fold-Down RV Steps here on our 2018 KZ Connect travel trailer. My name's Kevin, and if you still have some questions about what's going to be the right set of MORryde steps for your trailer, please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.